Okay. Hello, make sure we're on both. Hello, everyone. Welcome on Facebook Live, on YouTube, and also on Agree or Disagree the podcast. We are little recapping a bit of a shocker maybe tonight, as the Calgary Flames have lost 3-2 in overtime to the Colorado Avalanche, as Nathan McKinnon has just scored in overtime, tying the series at 1. Matt Duborg joins me here as well. And Matt, you were a little concerned about this going in after a seemingly somewhat convincing 4-0 win. The Flames got off to a little bit of a slow start, and the Avalanche took advantage of it, and were full marks for their victory tonight.
Oh, for sure. You have to give credit where credit's due. Colorado played an awesome game throughout. The Flames, throughout this season, whenever they have an overly easy game, like whether they blow out an opponent or whatever, they start to get a little overly confident in themselves. And especially after the first game, winning 4-0 rather handily, Colorado, frankly, sucked in that game. They didn't really have anything going other than when they had the power plays at the beginning of the end of the first and beginning of the second. And Calgary, I think, got a little too overconfident and didn't realize that Colorado was actually going to be desperate to go back to Denver tied. And they kind of got walked all over for a good portion of the game.
Yeah, it was certainly very physical at the beginning of the game, and I thought that was more to Colorado's advantage. Certainly beginning very clearly, I think Jared Bednar's game plan is we're going to play Nathan McKinnon come hell or high water, and we're going to play Nathan McKinnon until this guy dies, and that doesn't matter because this guy is the franchise player. And I think that this was an interesting decision to not continue to 3M, match him up with the 3M line and Giordano throughout the game. What did you think of that? Because I thought at least by the third period they would at least go back to that. I understand that they were not getting Monahan, Gaudreau, and Lindholm on the ice as much in game 1, but it also felt like McKinnon was far more effective tonight than he was in game 1.
Yeah, and you could see that line was very hungry, where frankly, in the first game, like, they tried, but none of the chances that they really generated were of the extremely dangerous variety, where, like, this game, like, they were basically all over the Flames every time they were on the ice, and the team didn't really respond too well. And I think after that first shift in the third period, where the 3M line got hemmed in for the first, like, 2 minutes of the period, I think that's when the team decided to go away from stapling the 3M line to the McKinnon line. And it makes sense because, like, the Flames needed a goal, so, like, they were wanting more Monahan and Gaudreau out there to try and score, and they did. It's just that, unfortunately, things went sideways as the game went on.
Yeah, I think that a couple of things that happened. There was a big turning point in the first period as well, where Gaudreau had a really nice setup to Sean Monahan in the first half of the first period as well, and Monahan just missed it. I think that was a little bit of a turning point. Getting out of there in a scoreless first period, I think, was an advantage to the Avalanche. And 0-0, and then starting the second period on the power play for the Avalanche, Sam Bennett got a penalty. I don't know what happened. I don't know how Sam Bennett got a penalty there, but
they both, him and Joe, punched each other late after, like, the scrum had died down, and for some reason only Bennett got a penalty, which, it's like, if you're gonna call one, call the other. But a weird call, but yeah. Not much you can do.
Yeah. And then the second period happened, and pretty much the Flames were hemmed in for a good chunk of that second period. I mean, the offensive stats that came out of the third period at 8 minutes for Colorado and 2 minutes for the Flames was quite incredible. But you would think that with all of that I just said here, that the Avalanche would have scored on the power play, but they actually started this on scoring shorthanded with Matt Nieto. TJ Brody did not have a good game tonight. I think I say this.
No, TJ Brody should be demoted to the third pairing permanently, I think, moving forward, because Raz did a very good job moving up.
The counter to that is Rasmus Andersson, I think, proved himself that he is a top 4 defenseman on this team. And there was a really good play. I think it was late in the third or overtime.
It was early in overtime where McKinnon was coming around and Anderson just speared the puck right off of him.
Yeah.
And it would have been a clear-cut breakaway for McKinnon.
Yeah, I'm like, it's now time for Anderson to permanently be on the top 4. But yeah, Brody, I don't know what he was doing there. There was early in the first period, he went for a walk to Phil and Sebastian's. It almost cost a goal. I don't know what he was doing, but Nieto blew by him.
Well, that's one of those plays where if the puck's coming around and it's bouncing, you get your body in front of the puck, even though you're going to likely get a hit. Yeah. Or if the guy gets by you, trip him. Who cares if you get a penalty? Just trip the guy. Yeah. And he didn't do either, and it cost us. And that on our last show, like I mentioned, that the Flames are prone to making little mistakes getting in their own way. And like if Colorado's gonna do anything, it was gonna be from that. And that was an unforced error and led to a goal against, and the Flames lost the game in overtime, which they wouldn't have gone to overtime had that not happened.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, it was just a bad play. And we'll talk about the adjustments that were made in the third period. But the Flames did get a power play goal in the second. Sam Bennett made not only just a really great pass, but a really smart play. Noticing where James Neal was, noticing where Rasmus Andersson was, made a behind the back pass. Rasmus Andersson knocked in his first goal from Bennett and Backlund. Late 12:26 tied the game at 1. It felt okay. Didn't feel great, but it felt okay going into the third period. And now what was interesting is the line juggling, because now it was Backlund, Tkachuk, and Lindholm. Monahan was with Gaudreau and Bennett. Jankowski was with Neal and
Frolik.
And then they kept the Ryan, Mangiapane, and Hathaway line together. And then defensively, they moved Anderson with Giordano. They moved Brody down with Fantenberg. What did you think of the changes there?
I liked all of them. I actually prefer having, like, even moving forward into like next season, I would actually prefer having Lindholm on the second line with Backlund and Tkachuk, just because I think stylistically, in terms of their play, that fits better.
Yeah.
But Bennett did a decent job on the first line. I don't really see him or Lindholm having better plays on that first line in this game. I don't really think there was much difference, frankly, from swapping them up. And Frolik at times, he's the lesser of the 3M line, and so dropping him down to the third line, which I think, frankly, should be the fourth line now with Jankowski and Neal. I think the Eat Bread line should be the third line, but
I kind of consider that line now the third line. I kind of think the Ryan, Mangiapane, Hathaway is the third line, and I feel like the Jankowski line is the fourth line. And I noticed that, and I think the other way is I've noticed the way that Neal was playing. He was really physical tonight, and he was trying to make more hits to create energy, which is more of a fourth line role.
Yeah.
So to me, it's looking to me like I think it's a fair game to say that Jankowski line is the fourth line.
Yeah. And Neal needs to do something to bring something to the table, and him throwing the body around helps a bit, and hopefully he can continue that and maybe generate some offense via that.
Yeah. I thought Lindholm was a good physical presence. I thought he played well defensively. I do agree with you. Didn't see much of a difference with Bennett and Lindholm there. The Ryan Mangiapane Hathaway line, I thought for the most part they were the best line tonight.
I agree.
Mangiapane was all over the place again. Hathaway was in people's grill. The one problem tonight was faceoffs, which were a big factor last game one.
Well, actually, the Flames won a significant portion of them tonight. It's just that, unfortunately, it didn't go our way.
Yeah, but later in the game they started to win, but at the start of the game, that was
true.
The Avs. Yeah.
Yeah, true enough.
Yeah, but the Flames did get the lead. Sean Monahan scored from Bennett and Gaudreau. Bennett makes a nice hit. Gaudreau sets up Monahan, and Gaudreau has no chance. 2-1 with past midway point. It feels pretty good. We go. I'm literally setting up the live chat for you, Matt.
Same here. I was getting everything prepped and ready. That last commercial break right before, there's like 2.5 minutes left, ready to go, and then okay.
Yeah, it's like JT Compher on a nice setup that they planned, but it was a bit of a broken play. JT Compher scores his first from Landeskog and Rantanen to tie the game with 2 minutes and 39 seconds to go, sending us to overtime. I have a feeling, Matt, that we're going to get to know JT Compher really well in this series, and we're not going to really like him.
No.
He was a menace tonight.
Yeah.
He was, and if he is a menace, I do not think that helps the Flames a lot. So
no. Well, with overtime, the Flames just couldn't buy a goal, unfortunately. I think they had something like 14 shots in overtime, and and Frolik hit the post right before McKinnon scored.
Yes.
Everything was going the Flames' way, and I think if McKinnon didn't score there, the Flames probably win it in the next minute or two after that. It's just...
Yeah, it was a
bad break.
Yeah, it was a really nice setup. McKinnon just blew by again. It was a great setup though by Kachuk to Frolik. I thought, that was it. I thought that was it, and then once McKinnon broke through and scored, was like, that was it. But Grubauer, especially though, the last 2 minutes of the third. He was great, and he was really great in overtime. And it wasn't that Mike Smith did not play terrible tonight. I think we need to make that very clear. He was phenomenal.
Oh, Smith was as good as he was in game one.
Yeah, absolutely. But except goals were allowed this time. It's just
Well, when you have like 5 breakaways against and you only give up 1 goal, you're doing pretty all right. It's just the defense was putrid for most of the night by the Flames, and Smith bailed them out like that. He's the only reason why this wasn't a 7-2 game for Colorado.
I do agree in a lot. I do agree. I thought there was especially the first half, real lack of intensity, and going to be interested to see what they do going into game 3, because this might be a good game that might be good to put in an Austin Czarnik.
Yeah, I think so too.
And I would consider switching a Czarnik for Neil. I would be okay with that.
Yeah, so would I.
I don't know what you do with TJ Brody, Matt, because I don't know if the defensemen behind TJ Brody are truly better than him.
If you shelter Brody as the third pairing guy with Fantenberg, then that's fine. Like, for a third pairing defenseman, TJ Brody is well above average. It's just that you're not wanting him out there against McKinnon's line for 20 minutes. And Anderson is better overall as a defenseman at this point. I think that you have to do something to switch that up. And it's frustrating because, like, if this was the regular season, honestly, with Brody's performance, I'd be considering putting Valimaki in.
Yeah.
But, and like, if the Flames do opt to sit Brody, that's who I'd expect to draw in. But I think you leave Brody a little bit of a leash to redeem himself on the third pairing, and let Anderson play better on the first, and hopefully that works a bit better overall for the team.
Well, the other thing though is how you split that time up, because I think you're going to have to play Gio Anderson, Hanif, and Hamonic much more than Brody Vandenberg,
Oh
because
yeah,
if you're Bednar, you're trying to get McKinnon out on Brody as much as possible.
yeah. I think that like what you'd probably see is like 25 minutes for the Giordano's pairing, probably around 18 to 20 for the second pairing, and then like 12 to 13 minutes for the third.
Yeah.
And try to be very selective when that third pairing goes out.
Yeah. I think, I agree. In terms of the line combinations, I'm
actually kind of liking the fact that they put Bennett on the first line and Lindholm on the second, and I wouldn't be too opposed to having that continue.
Yeah, I wouldn't either, because one of the other things that I think is starting, I do think that the Flames, as the game went on, I thought that Bennett was starting. You talked about this in game one. They were starting to be physical. When they were being physical on that and on the Avalanche defense, they were able to get some chances. I feel like Bennett is more effective doing that than Lindholm on the number one line. So
yeah,
mind Backlund, Kachuk, and Lindholm together.
Yeah, because like you look at Lindholm, and like he's basically the winger version of Michael Backlund, and like he's just a very heady two-way defensive forward, and having that on the second line, especially when they are out there like that, they'll because I'm assuming that in Colorado, McKinnon's line's not going to be facing that line too often, just because trying to avoid that matchup as much as possible. And I think that line will just run roughshod over anything else that Colorado throws at them. So I wouldn't be shocked if like that line scores 2 or 3 goals if it's kept together in game 3.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think if you bring in Zarnik, I think that allows sort of that Bill Peters idea of building from line to line. I think that allows that a little bit more, so I can see that.
Yeah, and I think the Flames were a little slow in this game at times, and I think swapping Neal out for Zarnik just gets a little bit more foot speed in the deal, and if you're looking at that line, that would create a lot more offensive pressure, at least for that third/fourth line, the Janko line.
Yeah. What are you thinking of Jankowski? Where are you on him? I thought at times he was okay tonight, but I thought at times I don't know.
He's a weird player. When he's good, he's really good, and like there's flashes of top 6 potential. And then he just vanishes into the ether and you don't see him again for a long time. And I think that was the case in this game, where he was decent for a couple of shifts and then was just bad, frankly, the rest of the night. And for him moving forward, he just needs to be more consistent on the good side of the coin and less on the invisible side. And I think he's starting to turn into Joel Colborne at this point.
Comparison, yeah.
And where he's just that, he's there because he's tall, and and he doesn't really hit anything. And I think like he needs, especially moving forward in his career, to take that next step to becoming a viable middle 6 forward. He needs to get a little bit of physicality in his game, and that's just non-existent at this point.
Yeah. So that's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting going forward. Anything we missed tonight?
It was nice to see the Flames hunkering down and blocking a lot of shots. And that was a thing that the team, like, you're never wanting to be in a position where you're needing to block a ton of shots, but that hasn't really been a focus of the team for most of the season. And so seeing everybody laying down the body to get in front of things, especially when the going got tough early in the game, that was nice to see. And like, if the Flames bounce back and move forward and win this series and like proceed on, they will having that experience of that kind of defensive effort will help them, especially when they're facing better teams.
Yeah. Yeah. Travis Hamonic is just a beast.
Yeah.
The guy just lays out his body every night. The kill after the Avalanche scored, they got that power play. That kill, even though they were hemmed in, that was, I thought, a big turning point that got the Flames back in the game.
Yeah, I agree.
That was just a fantastic kill. And I just think Hamonic and Hannaford have been an absolute. They've been monsters this year. It's incredible to watch. But Hamonic's been kind of leading that way. So
yeah. Oh, I'm just hoping that the team can bounce back. They'll be a tough going to Denver and not having the matchup changes that they'd like against McKinnon. But I'm hopeful that they can at least be tied coming back here and preferably up 3-1. I think that Calgary fell into the same trap that both Tampa Bay and Boston did in game 1 of their series, and Tampa in game 2 as well, of, oh, well, our opponents suck. They were 8th, or, it's Toronto. We beat them handily last year. Like, no big deal. We've got this. And, like, we won in game 1. Everything's easy going, and then realizing, oh,
yeah,
they actually have players that are good.
Yeah. I think the first 10 minutes of that game on Monday is going to be really interesting.
The Flames need to have some desperation.
Yeah, because the Colorado will come out flying. It will the Flames will have to weather that storm. And I'm not really too concerned because I thought that this could be a 6 or 7 game series. So I'm not super worried. I would rather be going to Denver 2-0, but 1-1. It's a series, and you just have to deal with it and bounce back.
Yeah, and frankly, like, the first line was MIA for the first 2 games, and the third line, Jankowski's line, was largely ineffective. So, like, if those guys can show up and do something positive on the scoreboard, I think that would be beneficial for the team.
Yeah, Goodrow has been fine defensively, and he's trying to do stuff offensively.
Everything's not clicking on that line.
Yeah, and that I think it's a long series, and he's a guy that can get it going. So
yeah,
let's leave that there. So we will be back after Game 3 Monday night. Game 3 in Denver. Start time is 8:00 in Calgary. So it's currently 12:19 in Calgary right now. So most of you are probably asleep and watching in the morning. That's fine. We'll be back on Monday. Matt, thanks again for joining.
Yep. Thanks as always.
All right. We will talk to everyone very soon. Bye for now. Okay, there. And oops. And then this is and